America isn't the only country facing economic pressure and social volatility from unrestrained immigration. Just 3 years ago, Europe faced its own wave of migrants from Africa and the Middle East. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel responded to this by accepting nearly 1 million migrants in a single year. Adjusted for population, that would be like this country taking in 4 million in just 12 months. 3 years after that, how has that decision affected Germany and Merkel's political career? Rick Grenell is the current U.S. ambassador to Germany, and he joins us tonight. Ambassador, thanks very much for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Tucker.
So you're starting to see even figures on the left, John Kerry and Hillary Clinton most prominently, but others, rethinking the political fallout from Merkel's decision to do that in Germany. From where you sit, what was the effect of letting in those migrants?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the political effect. There was no plan in place, so the policy really fell apart. Chancellor Merkel and many in Germany had big hearts. They wanted to do something, but there wasn't a plan. And so even Chancellor Merkel now, all these years later, has agreed that there was no plan, and therefore the entire policy kind of fell apart because it wasn't implemented with hardcore security measures and follow-up. So from the political standpoint, next week, Chancellor Merkel is giving up her chairmanship of the party. There are 3 other people running, and the top issue, one of the top issues, is migration and her handling of migration. So politically, I would say that it really toppled her and has forced her now to give up the chairmanship of a party that she once ran with a very strong arm.
What's so interesting watching Germany from here is how the German press and its cultural leaders responded. So this was 3 years ago, and it was immediately obvious that a lot of ordinary Germans didn't like it, and that it was causing the crime rate to go up, and that it was causing economic pressure on ordinary Germans. But people weren't allowed to say that for a number of years in public, or am I misreading it?
No, you're exactly right, and I would even go so far as to say that we still have that problem here in Germany. There's still an overreaction if you complain about wanting secure borders or just an orderly process. Look, this is not about whether or not you have a heart. This is about whether or not you have a plan. And we in the United States know that 1 million people a year get U.S. citizenship. We are very generous. This is not about not wanting to have immigrants. And the whole idea that the left or some on the right even or the media are somehow mixing up legal immigration with illegal immigration is really an outrage. And those of us in public policy positions have to be able to push back and say, look, we're not talking about legal immigration. The United States is very generous. Germany has been very generous. This is about whether or not you have a plan, because not everyone is going to be able to come. And that's what you have to be able to say is we must prioritize. What is that number? Is it 1 million people in the United States? Is it 4 million people in Germany over a number of years? What is that number? Because whatever that number is, it's still going to be too low. You're still going to turn people away. So let's have an orderly process and figure out how to do legal immigration and do it the right way.
Are people, because I think that's what we need in the United States, is an honest adult conversation about what we can afford, what's good for our country, and what the next 100 years looks like demographically. We can't have that conversation here. Can Germans have it?
Look, I think the United States is having a better conversation than the Germans, to be honest. This has largely been controlled by elites in Berlin, but normal everyday people are beginning to say, wait a minute, this policy is not working. This is not about being generous. We are very generous. They have a lot of open borders throughout Europe. But I would also argue that the mistakes of Germany, Tucker, have rippled throughout all of Europe, because we've seen in Austria, for instance, with Sebastian Kurz, who came in with a platform to say, we must have security and a set of rules. This is not about not being generous. This is not about not being open to immigrants, but this is about just having rules. And once he established the fact that he wanted rules, Sebastian Kurz won in a very big way and is now becoming very popular throughout Germany.
Yes.
So while some in the media in Germany will try to push this into saying, well, you're a radical far-right person, the reality is that normal everyday Germans and Europeans are clamoring for leaders who want to have safe and secure borders and an orderly process.
Right. Well, if they want to create radicals, they should keep lying to the population, because that's what they're going to get. Ambassador Grenell, thank you very much. Great to see you tonight.
Thanks, Tucker.